Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Supercoach Insider podcast. My name is Swizz, continuing on with my Supercoach BBL team discussion series. Before I jump into today's episode, as always, check us out on all our social media platforms, in particular YouTube, Spotify, and get in contact with us via X Supercoach Insider 100 or Swizz26 for me directly. Sydney Sixers is up next, a team that I really like in this competition. I think they're really well balanced, and I think they could definitely be up in the pointy end come finals time. But, anybody on any given day can beat each other in this competition. But I do like the fact that they do have a couple games against the Stars. They do play the Renegades first up, which should get them off to a good start. The Sydney Thunder games, it'll be interesting to see how they go up there. But if they can beat the Thunder in both matches, and they will give themselves a real opportunity to feature at the back end of this tournament. So they kick off with Melbourne Renegades at home before playing the Thunder over at Greater West Sydney, and then have the double in round 3, which is why a few people are looking at starting at least one Sixers player. As I've been saying, much easier with these teams who have the double game early on in the season to try to get at least one of their players at the start, and that's where they play at the SCG, and then the Heat up at the Gabba. In regards to their team, they're going to be missing Steve Smith, obviously, for test commitments, and Akil Hussain. So he is the West Indian quick that we are really looking forward to seeing out here. Should be here for the double. Do need to make plans around getting him in. He is 196k, so he is expensive. One of those other options where maybe it's maybe it's Short and Overton, which goes over to Maxwell and Akil Hussain when you're doing those trades, and then you can look at trading back those guys to get Short and Overton back in. The most selected player from the Sixers at the moment is Josh Philippe, 132k. No surprise at all, because we know what this guy can do. 2021 average 58, 1920 average 52. Scored 139 recently against WA in a one-day match. The more thing that I was actually quite surprised about is he's still 27 years old. So he can. It's not like his form's tapered off because of age or anything. He can definitely rediscover that. His last couple of games against the Renegades have been 74 and 95 points. He's scored reasonably well against the Thunder as well. The Stars is one of those teams where he actually has struggled against. So I can see the appeal, why people want him. At the back end of the last year, he did finish the year with a 77 and 72 points. He did start the season well. Just a couple of games in the middle, which obviously kept that average down to 44, but still quite decent. He does have a break even of 44 going into that first game. I think with Inglis and Steinford, he is probably the third best keeping option of those players who are 100k above. I'm not as big of a fan, as I've said in the Stars one, about Joe Clark, and then it only depends if you want a cheaper option like Harper. But Philippe is somebody you can consider. I understand why people are. I'm probably leaning towards it at the moment because I think there's a better Sixers player I want to start. But in saying that, it's not. I definitely somebody in mind to bring in maybe for that double game. The thing that does worry me is that Western Sydney game against the Thunder sometimes isn't the greatest batting deck, so just a little bit mindful of that. And yeah, I kind of want probably the bowling options from the Sixers. Moses Henriques is in 17% of teams. That surprised me. I think he only went up $500 from last season, so this is like him around that 96k mark is exactly what he produces each season. So not somebody I like. Like, I think his highest score last season was, he started off the season actually quite well. It's the 79-78, but then massively dropped off after that. And even the previous year, he had a 131, but yeah, quite a few low scores in there. So Moses, I think you can do a better option there at that price. Definitely maybe look at Renshaw or one of those Stars players we've talked about in the Stars podcast. So yeah, not for me. At number 3 there, Patterson or Daniel Hughes. I don't know if they've made their mind up with that yet. Patterson's been in quite good form. It's amazing to think that he did play a test match and then it's kind of completely gone off the radar in regards to thinking about the Australian team, but he's done absolutely nothing wrong this season. Guy's 31, so maybe that's why they're probably thinking in another direction now. But He's gone 167 not out, 99, and he's got a 91 in recent times. So I know his form probably previous seasons might have been good, but he's definitely showed the selectors that he is still an option if need be. Okay, so getting into these sort of bowlers, and this is where we really need to have the discussion. One of the most popular ones. Well, I'm actually quite surprised, because Sean Abbott's actually more popular than him, but I'll talk about Abbott in a second. But Jack Edwards, 136.5k. A lot of podcasters, I've seen them with Edwards in the team. He has been in my side for most of this preseason, and still probably might end up making the end. At 24 years old, he is the next big thing that the Cricket Australia want to promote. He's bowling the house down in the last first-class match against WA. Took 5 for 41 in both innings. So he'll bowl for the Sixers. He'll bat in that middle order. I kind of think, and this is no disrespect to Sutherland at the Renegades, but it's just a better, younger version of him. I'm a big fan of Jack Edwards, and I think this is the year to get on. If you're not going to start him, you're going to have a plan to get him on, and that's the thing. He's only a year younger than Will Sutherland anyway, so both of them have potential to be big careers in the Australian landscape. But I think Jack Edwards, is somebody you've got to definitely consider, and I think it's the sort of guy that I want to be on from the start if I can fit him in. It kind of comes down to I've probably got room for maybe one guy who isn't got that double in round 1 or 2, which I'm looking at a Heat or a Sixers player, and that would maybe a Spencer Johnson, or maybe it is Jack Edwards. So I do like him a lot. And the other one, Sean Abbott, who is was playing for Australia against Pakistan, made 30 and 13, none for 49 and 1 for 13. Nothing to really take notice of there, but he is part of the international team. We know he's been a quality bowler for a long time. Was added to the Test squad recently, but be released to come play for the Sixers unless something massively went wrong with our Australian bowling attack. But it's interesting that they did consider him as the next instead of going more a younger player, but he is obviously part of the Australian international team. But 32 years old. He's still got some good cricket for the Sixers involved, so 15% of teams at the moment, and I can see why people are leaning towards him. Hayden Kerr's got 7%, and then so does Dorcius. Benny Dorcius did play for Australia against England, took 1 for 18, but then he did his pectoral, so still coming back from that injury. Hopefully he is right for the first game, but I've got a little bit of concern there, so maybe just leave him out, and he's a guy that I'd kind of want for that double game. And potentially if he was there for the Thunder, but definitely for the double is somebody I'd be trying to get into that sort of planning around those first 3 or 4 weeks, as I've talked about in every podcast. He's one that you need to probably have in your plans, but for the Sixers as well, Akil will be coming in, so he needs to be part of those plans as well. So definitely need to consider that. And then Hayden Kerr, you'll be bat around that middle order again. Lower middle order probably doesn't bowl as much as some of these other options, because they do have some good options with Jackson Bird. It'd probably be Todd Murphy, but they are bringing out Jafar Chauhan from England. He is a leg break googly bowler, but you'd think they would go the Aussie player first. But we know if they're bringing out players, we've seen in the past that they can be quite difficult to pick because the teams haven't seen as much of them, and they usually do have that sugar hit in the first year. So, they do have a lot of bowling options that they can sort of throw the ball around, depending on how they want to go with that. But I think Kerr's the one that if you're going to take overs off, it probably might be him, and that's probably why he is also at that cheaper option too, because hasn't had that form, hasn't done any of the travels compared to a lot of the other players have done in the off season as well. So somebody that I would probably leave out of my side. And if he probably did go off in that first game or two, then maybe consider for your double. But I think with Akil coming in anyway, he could be the one that potentially misses out, and they might go all of Akil and Sean Abbott, Dorcius and Bird if they really want to load up exactly like the Scorchers do. So in summary, I'd be looking at starting one of the Sixers players, just so you've got one of them for their double. And the one I really like, Jack Edwards, if you're going to do it, unless you want the keeper, and go Josh Phillippe. Enjoy that, guys, and we're going to be finishing off with the Sydney Thunder. See you later. Bye.